The sound wasn't a shout. It was worse. A low, stubborn grind like injured wood. My dresser drawer, the one that sticks unless you lift it just a little before pulling. I knew that drawer the way I know hems and zippers, by feel, by habit, by the tiny patience it demands. I was in the bathroom with damp hands and my gray hair pinned up, checking my face the way you do before you step back into a room full of people. Only there were no people, no party, no visitors, just my house. And that sound. I moved closer to the door and stopped breathing. "Look again," someone whispered. I recognized the voice before my brain wanted to. Kara, my daughter-in-law. The same voice that turns honey sweet in public and razor thin in private. "It has to be here," she hissed. "She keeps everything." "I don't like this," my son said, low and shaky, like guilt was a jacket he could put on and take off. "If she comes out," Kara gave a short, impatient laugh. "She's in the bathroom. She takes forever. You know how she is. And we need the papers. Find the deed, because when she dies, it's ours. When she dies." The floor didn't spin. My stomach didn't drop like it does in movies. It was colder than that. Clean and sharp, like opening an empty refrigerator and letting the air hit your skin. "My name is Helen Vargas. I'm 70. I'm not loud, but I am precise. For 40 years, I ran a tiny alteration shop in a strip mall. School uniforms, prom dresses, wedding hems, work pants. People came to me when they needed something to fit right. And in that work, you learn a truth. The stitches you see are never the ones holding everything together. The real strength is hidden inside. That whisper ripped something inside me. The drawer scraped again, harder. Then paper shuffling fast, desperate fingers. "What if she keeps it at the bank?" my son murmured. "No," Kara snapped. "She doesn't trust banks. She hides things in the house, like old women do." Old women. I gripped the sink to keep my hands steady. In the mirror, my eyes looked tired, but awake. And a sentence formed in me, calm and clear. If they're already shopping for my death, today they're going to meet me alive. This wasn't stuff in that drawer. That house was my second shift, paid for inch by inch after I became a widow. And the man whispering beside her was the boy I raised. I turned off the faucet. The water stopped. The house went quiet. Then I opened the door and walked toward my bedroom without making a sound. I didn't enter like a victim. I entered like the owner. My bedroom smelled like lavender hand cream, clean and familiar, now mixed with something metallic. Fear. Mark was crouched at my dresser with my folded clothes tossed like my privacy was public property. Kara stood by the window holding my document box. They froze. Not startled. Frozen. I said nothing for 5 seconds, because silence can be a lock. Then I smiled, not warmly. The smile I used at my shop when someone tried to haggle a 3-hour job into 10 minutes. "Looking for something?" I asked, calm. Mark scrambled up, clumsy. "Mom, we were..." Kara cut in, polished. "Helen, I'm sorry. Mark has a headache. We were looking for medicine. We didn't want to bother you." I looked at the underwear drawer hanging open. I looked at my neat stacks, now wrecked. I looked at the document box in her hands. "Medicine," I repeated. "In my underwear drawer." Mark's gaze dropped, and that hurt more than the mess. He couldn't even look at me. Kara's mouth tightened. "Don't be dramatic. Older people hide things in weird places." I inhaled slowly and refused to shout. I wouldn't hand them a story about me losing it. "At my age," I said, soft, "I paid for this house. I paid the first car Mark drove. I paid that kitchen remodel because you needed space." I sat on the bed like I was measuring fabric, steady, exact. Kara shifted. "That's not what this is about." "Then let's talk about what I heard," I said. "When she dies, it's ours." Mark went pale. Kara opened her mouth. Then nothing came out. The lie got stuck. "You misunderstood," Mark whispered. "No," I said. "I understood perfectly." I stood, closed the drawer with one clean push, and faced them. "Out," I said, still quiet. "And don't touch my things again." Kara grabbed Mark's arm, smiling for the room that wasn't there. "Come on, she's upset." They left. The front door clicked. Only then did my hands start to shake. Not from fear, from decision. I opened the box Kara had touched. Nothing was missing, but I felt violated anyway. So I went to the back of my closet and pulled out a gray folder with handwritten labels: deed, utilities, receipts. Inside was one page I'd kept for years, not out of spite, but out of clarity. A list of who paid for what. I stared at it and whispered, "No more miracles." Then I picked up my phone and made the first call. Not a lawyer yet, not a speech. A friend who knew paperwork the way I knew stitches. Because if they were planning ending, I was going to rewrite the pattern. At 7 a.m. the next morning, a diesel engine rumbled outside. A moving truck sat at the curb like a declaration. A locksmith climbed out of a van with a toolbox and a new deadbolt. I opened my door with the calm of a woman who has already cried in private. Mark appeared first, hair messed up, confusion on his face. Kara followed in a robe, eyes sharp, already looking for an angle. "Mom, why is there a truck?" Mark asked. I didn't answer. I looked at the locksmith. "Please start," I said. "New cylinder. Add a second lock." Kara stepped forward. "You're locking me out? I'm your son's wife." "You're his wife," I said. "You are not the owner." The movers carried boxes to my porch. I held a clipboard. My list. No yelling, no pleading, just checking items like inventory. This TV, the dining table, the sofa, the microwave, the blender. Mark blinked. "But we use those." "You used them," I corrected. "I paid for them." Kara's face flushed. "This is humiliating." I met her eyes. "Humiliating was hearing you say, 'When she dies, it's ours.'" Silence hit the hallway. Mark reached for my shoulder with that soft hand. "Mom, please." "It was a comment." "It was a plan," I said. And I heard it. The locksmith clicked the new lock into place. Small sound, big meaning. Kara's voice went hard. "So we're supposed to live like strangers in the backyard?" "The guest unit has its own entrance," I said. "Starting today, you use it. The main house is closed." "And food?" she snapped. "Internet? Utilities?" I didn't raise my voice. "Each household pays its own. Each adult solves their own." Mark looked like someone removed gravity. Because for years, my house had been a hotel, and I'd been the staff. When the last box left the living room, the space looked emptier and honest. Mark swallowed. "Where are you taking everything?" "Storage," I said. "Some to donation. I'm keeping what I need. I'm removing what you can claim later." Kara scoffed. "So you're punishing us?" "No," I said. "I'm protecting myself." I handed Mark one typed page. Simple rules. Side entrance only. No touching my paperwork. Quiet hours. Utilities in your name. He stared at it like it was written in another language. Across the street, curtains moved. Someone pretended to water a plant. Let them watch. I wasn't being cruel. I was being clear. And clarity, after years of guilt, feels like oxygen for me. The truck pulled away, and for the first time in years, my home felt like mine. That afternoon, my friend Teresa came over with a folder and 2 coffees. Teresa isn't dramatic. Teresa is paperwork in human form. Leases, notices, records, all the boring stuff that saves you when feelings fail. She asked one question. "Is that guest unit legally separate?" "I don't know," I admitted. "I built it so Mark could save money." Then Kara moved in, and I became the sponsor of their whole life. Teresa nodded. "Then we start with facts." The next day, we pulled the property record. No separate address, no independent meter. On paper, the guest unit was an accessory structure, not a protected residence. Teresa tapped the page. "If you keep this vague, they'll turn it into a story, and you can't beat a story with tears." So we made it official. A notary came to my kitchen table, now a folding table because half my furniture was gone. Mark and Kara arrived like a storm. "This is abuse," Kara snapped. My mother called an attorney. 5 minutes later, the attorney showed up. Young, shiny suit, loud voice. He threw around words like harassment and wrongful eviction, as if volume created truth. The notary looked over his glasses. "Do you have a deed, a lease, or a written agreement?" he asked. The attorney blinked. Kara's mouth opened. Nothing. Teresa slid the property record across the table. No lease, no rent paid, no written permission, she said. The notary raised a hand. We are not debating. We are documenting. My hands shook under the table, but my voice stayed steady. I'm not taking anything that belongs to them, I said. I'm setting rules for what belongs to me. 2 documents sat in front of Mark and Kara. First, a short occupancy agreement for the guest unit. Side entrance only. Quiet hours. No access to the main house. Utilities transferred into their names within 30 days. Second, a written revocation of any verbal permission to use my main home. No more wandering into my kitchen like I didn't exist. Mark stared at the pages. Mom, we can't afford rent. My chest tightened because he was my son. Then the sentence returned, sharp as a needle. When she dies, it's ours. Then you work, I said quietly. Like I worked. The notary's voice stayed calm. You have 72 hours to sign and comply, or the owner may begin formal removal. The attorney suddenly got very interested in his phone. Kara clutched the pages like they were an insult. Mark held them like a weight. I signed my part without shaking. And in that moment, my kindness stopped being a doorway people could walk through. It became a boundary. And boundaries, I learned, can feel like love too. 3 months later, my house didn't sound the same. Not because of missing furniture, because of air. The living room held folding tables, spools of thread, scissors, and 2 used sewing machines I'd bought at a church sale. It wasn't fancy. It was something smaller and truer, a workshop. Every Tuesday, women from the neighborhood showed up with bags of fabric and stories. One came to learn how to hem her own work pants. Another wanted to sell tote bags at the farmer's market. Another just wanted to sit somewhere she didn't feel useless. And me, Helen, who spent years stitching everyone else's life together, I finally stitched for me. The first day, I taped a simple sign to my front door. Tailoring workshop, learn and earn. My chest filled with a pride I hadn't felt in a long time. Mark and Kara still lived in the guest unit, using the side entrance like the papers required. At first it was Cold War. Heavy silences, slammed cabinets, the kind of quiet that tries to punish you. But life is stubborn. Mark got a job at a warehouse. He came home tired, hands rough, and one night he said something that surprised me. Mom, I didn't know the electric bill could be that high. He didn't say it to manipulate me. He said it like a man discovering gravity. Kara took longer. She fought every inconvenience like it was an insult. When the hot water went out one Thursday, she pounded on the side door like she still owned my attention. I opened it only a few inches. What? We need a wrench, she said, hard, then softer. A hose came loose. I watched her face and noticed what wasn't there. No performance, no sweetness, no blade, just need. I went to my tool drawer and handed her the wrench without smiling. Bring it back, I said. I will, she answered, quiet. I closed the door and leaned against the wood, breathing. That night, I cried. Not for them, for me. For all the years I confused love with endurance. For the times I swallowed disrespect because I didn't want to lose my son. For the way I trained my own body to accept crumbs. Sometimes people ask, do you regret being so hard? I think of that whisper in my bedroom. When she dies, it's ours. No. Because if I hadn't drawn a line, I would be alive, but invisible. Now I was visible, not because I yelled, but because I decided. And every Tuesday, when the machines hummed and women laughed in my living room, I felt something stitch itself back together inside me. Not the family I thought I had, the self I forgot. The apology didn't come with flowers. It came on an ordinary Wednesday for me. I was labeling spools of thread when I heard the side gate click. Mark stood there alone, hands in his pockets, eyes older than last season. Mom, he said, can we talk? I nodded and kept my voice neutral. You can talk. He stepped inside the doorway like he wasn't sure he still had permission to exist in my space. And that alone told me something. Boundaries were working. I've been thinking about what you heard, he said. About the way Kara said it, the way I didn't stop it. I waited. I didn't rescue him from his own words. Mark swallowed. I let it happen because it was easier, because you always handled things. And I got used to you being the strong one. My throat tightened. Not because he praised me, because he finally named the trap. I'm sorry, he added, and his eyes did not run away this time. Not just for the drawer. For all of it. Behind him, Kara appeared at the gate, watching. She didn't come in. She didn't smile. She looked smaller. Mark turned toward her. "Tell her," he said. Kara's jaw worked like she was chewing pride. Then she spoke, and the words came out plain. No sugar, no blade. "I said it," she admitted. "And I shouldn't have. I was counting what wasn't mine. I didn't celebrate. I didn't gloat. I just breathed." "Thank you for saying it," I replied. "But here's what matters now." I held up my hands. Hands with needle marks, calluses, and decades of quiet work. "These hands built a life," I said. "I will not be treated like a waiting room for your inheritance." Kara's eyes flashed, then softened. "What do you want from us?" she asked. I looked at my kitchen, my workshop, my home, my present. "I want respect," I said. "Not when I'm gone. Now." There was a long pause, and for once, no one tried to fill it with excuses. Mark nodded slowly. Kara nodded too, once, tight, but real. That night, when I locked my front door, I noticed something. I wasn't locking them out. I was locking me in, inside my own dignity. And here's the truth I learned the hard way. If someone can only love you when you're useful, that isn't love. It's a transaction. So if you're listening and your family is already dividing up your future, please hear me. You don't have to wait for permission to live your own life. Set the boundary, write the list, change the lock. Because when a mother finally chooses herself, she doesn't lose a family. She gains a life.